Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, comedian Tim Keck. Today we're going to be talking about the movie Hocus Pocus. And Tim, at the end of our last episode, you expressed some trepidation about this movie. I gotta know going into this, was Hocus Pocus a thing for you as a kid, or are you coming to this for the first time as an adult?
I feel like I swear it was a thing for me as a kid. I look back on it fondly. I have fond memories of it. My favorite thing was when the witches sang that song, like, what is it? I'll Put a Spell on You. Mm-hmm. I loved that. I realized quickly into watching this that was the only thing I remembered about this movie, and that was a very small part of the movie. And the rest of the movie is bogged down with a story about a cat and a zombie who runs around and some children that I honestly couldn't give less of a fuck about. It's like when you watch A New Hope, right? And you're like, man, Darth Vader's awesome. I can't wait to see all the Darth Vader stuff. And then Darth Vader's in 10 minutes of the movie. That's how I felt about watching Hocus Pocus. Like, I came for the witches and there weren't enough witches. There's like a solid 45 minutes that the witches just aren't in. And it sucks. Every time the witches aren't on the screen, it's a bad movie. It's not fun when the witches aren't there. It's kind of like the exact opposite of like the Hobbits in the Lord of the Rings. Like all the Hobbit stuff, it's like, we just got to cut this out. We got to get back to Aragorn and Gimli and all the fighting. We got to get back to the good part. The Hobbits were like the children in this. The Hobbits were everything that wasn't the witches in this movie for me. It's
interesting.
This is a hard week. The Munsters and Hocus Pocus. I was shocked at how hard it was for me to get through Hocus Pocus. Really, I was expecting a sweet nostalgia thing. It took me multiple days to watch this movie. I'm not going to lie. I started for like 20 minutes and I was like, I can't. And then just like turned it off and then put it on another day and like got another 20 minutes in and was like, I can't. And then I was finally like, listen, you just got to bite the bullet and finish it. And I did. And it was okay.
Dude, this is heresy. This movie is so good. This is an absolute all-time classic. I will never not have my heart warmed by this movie. I ride for this so hard.
Here's the thing, though. As soon as I finished this movie on Disney Plus, it recommended Hocus Pocus 2. And I was like, Hocus Pocus 2 could be really good. Like watching this movie, I was like, I bet Hocus Pocus 2 is awesome. And Hocus Pocus 2, way better than the first one.
Oh,
it's
my
great.
God.
Like they know what the bid is. It's Maverick versus Top Gun. I'm telling you, like they just dropped all the shit that didn't work. They kept all the things that were good. There's more witches. It's like all about the witches. The first 10 minutes of Hocus Pocus 2 is some little girl actors doing incredible impressions of like the witches, and they crush it. And then what's his face? Buster from Arrested Development rolls in as like a character.
I don't want to get too far. I don't want to get too far into this just in case anybody hasn't watched it and doesn't want to have it spoiled.
That's the beginning of the movie. It's pleasant. Watch the first 10 minutes. If you watch nothing else, watch the first 10 minutes of Hocus Pocus 2, and you will say, these people have a better understanding of Hocus Pocus. They get it. They understand what worked about Hocus Pocus, and they just narrowed in on that. Like they needed to sharpen it. They needed the skills to make it work. Hocus Pocus, I'm convinced, is a bad movie, poorly done, that they just were throwing shit against the wall. It somehow became a hit, and they had no idea how it became a hit. It's not a good movie. They had no idea what they were doing. They threw shit against the wall. Some of it stuck, and Hocus Pocus 2 is like scraping the shit that's stuck off the wall and repackaging it in a way that we can all enjoy. Like that's how I feel. That's me. That's my Hocus Pocus rant in a nutshell. It's not good. It wasn't good. I didn't have fun watching Hocus Pocus. I didn't enjoy it. I don't know. You're looking at me with sad eyes, but what's your relationship with Hocus Pocus? Why do you like this movie so much?
I mean, 90s kid. I saw it when I was a child. It was a very fun thing for us to watch. I remember I was young enough when it first came out that it was a little bit scary. There were definitely some moments that freaked me out. This movie, for a 90s movie with the small budget that I'm assuming this had, the special effects are pretty great in Hocus Pocus. Like, all the flying looks really good. The little like lightning bolts and stuff shooting out of Bette Midler's fingers are rotoscoped in a really fun way. It's like that. It was that magical time where I feel like they were still doing that with hand drawing instead of trying to like put it in with CGI. It was like right before all that would have been CGI. So they were at the peak of their game rotoscoping. It was like just a very, very, very fun movie. Any of the shortcomings that it has based on the storyline with the kids, I feel like I am forgiving because A, they're child actors and it was the 90s. And I think, I mean, did people not know how to be child actors until 2018? I feel like it's like only, even Stranger Things is a little bit dicey in the first couple of seasons. I feel like it's only been the past couple of years that we've gotten some like truly fucking incredible child actors from like Station 11. And what's the one that we were talking about last year that had we gave an award to one of the child actors?
Oh, Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Oh my God, yeah.
That was awesome.
Incredible child actors. So like we were in the days before that was even possible. And I kind of think our buddy Breen has a joke where like people learned how to make vegetables in 2015 and all vegetables before that sucked. And I kind of feel like that's the way it was with like most movies. I think most movies just really sucked back in the day. And so this would have been maybe an above average movie back then that is just kind of average by modern standards or bad by modern standards, but I'm really nostalgic for it. Yeah. I'm biased.
There's 3 witches in this movie. Can you name 3 other characters in this movie that aren't the witches?
Well, that's the thing, is that I think maybe it does get a little bit bogged down. There's probably we probably have one too many things between the zombie and the cat. But I guess the zombie, I don't know why they have the zombie chasing them and the witches chasing them. Like, that's a bit much, but we get a bunch of fun zombie bits. Anyway, I didn't answer your question. Thackery Binks is the cat.
Thackery Binks is one. Which I knew you'd get Binks. I assumed you know the zombie's name.
That one I actually don't know. I know that he's played by Doug Jones, but I don't know the character's name.
That's true. Billy Butcherson. That's a great name.
Billy Butcherson.
But I'm confident you won't be able to name a single other character in this movie. Like, the rest of the movie is bad. This is a nostalgia movie. I had a much better time in the years since I've seen this, thinking back on this movie fondly than I did enjoy watching it. I'm trying to think of like a better example of hating something and then looking back fondly at it. Like I enjoy a roller coaster, but I hate the drops, like Tower of Terror, just straight up and down. That does nothing for me. I'm all about the flips, baby. I'm about the twists and the flips. I could twist and flip all day. I can't get enough of it. And I tolerate the drop just to get a cool twist or flip. But every once in a while, you go to the theme park, someone twists your arm, you have to go on Tower of Terror. I hate it. Every time I hate it. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And then afterwards, I'm like, it wasn't too bad. It was kind of fun. The view was nice, and then the next year comes around and it's time to do the Tower of Terror again. And again, I hate it. It's the most miserable time. You have to wait on a line to use it for some reason, even though it's going to be an awful experience. And then it happens. And then years later, you're like, Tower of Terror. That was a good time. That was a good day. We had a good time. And that's how I feel about this movie. It's something that wasn't fun to watch that I viewed back on fondly. And maybe just as a kid, I was just dumber. And I don't know. Maybe we just had lower standards there and everything was bad. You're right. And it was just, I didn't remember the kids at all. I didn't remember the cat at all. I didn't remember the zombie at all. I had no idea what the plot was, other than that these witches show up and they sing and they're funny. And Sarah Jessica Parker, I guess, is like horny for guys. And they don't know what buses are. They don't know what buses are, but then they make a ton of puns about pulling somebody over and cops. Like, there's zero consistency in this movie with the witches. The jokes are timely, but then as a bit, they also have no idea about technology, unless they do know about technology. So they kind of pick it up and put it down whenever it's convenient for them. And the kids are boring. And this is a thing that I was like, I was so confused at during it. So the kid, they spend so much time in this movie talking about how a gotta be only 14-year-old kid is still a virgin.
Yeah.
Right. And they mention it. If they mention it once, they mention it a dozen times.
It's so much.
And then there's like a scene where him and the girl are like kind of like take a nap together. And at the end of the movie, the witch can't hurt him. And I was like, oh my God, is the twist in this movie that they had sex in that one scene and we just like didn't see it? I thought for sure there was going to be something where it's like, oh my God, he's not a virgin anymore. And I was like, how goddamn fucked up is this movie that they're talking about? He's not driving anywhere. Mm-hmm. You know, he's taking his kid sister around on Halloween. Dude's like 14.
Oh, he's young. Yeah.
And he cuddles with a girl. And I was like, dude, did they fuck? Like, I was like, why are they telling us he's a virgin so much? Why is the fact that a virgin is necessary for this spell repeated so many times in a modern movie? What would the twist be? The twist would be, well, he had sex already. He's not a virgin anymore, you know?
Right.
I've seen that before. That's happened in things. That's like the logical conclusion. Otherwise, why would you mention it so much? It's crazy. There's a ton of stuff like that in this where it's like, what the fuck were they thinking? How the fuck is this allowed? There's literally a grown up telling a 14-year-old kid, what do you mean you're not a virgin anymore? And they play it off like, oh, he's not actually a cop. But I'm like, how? It's insane. A 40-something or late 30s adult is telling a 14-year-old kid it's crazy you're still a virgin. This is an insane world that they've created. It's truly nuts.
It defies logic. The one thing is that guy that you just listed the example of is a person who has decided to impersonate a police officer for Halloween and is getting a kick out of the fact that kids that needed help thought he was a real police officer. So that guy is fucked up. That man is fucked in the head. He is not a reliable source. But I did think the same thing about how often they say that this kid is a virgin. And the only reason that I can think of is that it's just a repeated sick burn on this kid. Just this movie is out to burn that actor and be like, yeah, we cast you to play it because you look like you could be a virgin, nerd.
It's crazy, dude. I'm looking at the cast list. I legit had a great time with two of the characters that I'd completely forgotten about who were awesome. It was Ernie Ice. I fucking loved Ice. And what was his buddy? I just kept thinking it was like James Franco. It was doing like an awesome like Franco impression where he's like kind of like a stoner dude. And there's a moment when they like first bully him and like are taking his shoes. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, no, dude, my name's Ice. And then he like turns around and points to the back of his head. And the other kid goes, Ice. And then they just like stand there for a second. And I'm like, this is insane. These guys are crushing it. I want more of Ice. It's phenomenal. That bit where they're taking his shoes is incredible. That's probably my favorite part of the movie. It's so goddamn funny. They're such characters. It's awesome. There's nothing else that good in the rest of the movie, to be honest.
Power Rangers would have been the perfect show if these guys were playing Bulk and Skull in it.
Oh my God. Power Rangers is already the perfect show. I don't know what you're talking about, but they have really good Bulk and Skull energy.
Yeah,
I do.
Love it. I thought the two people you were going to be talking about were going to be Gary Marshall and his wife. That scene is amazing. I love it so much.
Wait, which one is it? Wait, that's the parents?
That's no, Gary Marshall is the guy that's dressed up as the devil that they think is the actual devil, and they go into his house and they're just messing around in a house. Watching
that's
one
insane.
of the witches just watching the baby commercial. I remember that commercial, watching her watch the commercial and just scream. I am so glad that shot made it in the movie because it's so fucking funny. The parents though, the dad is Charlie Rocket from SNL.
Oh, I don't know if that means anything to me, but
he was in when they refreshed the cast, when they fired Lorne Michaels, he was one of the cast members and he made people hate him pretty much immediately because for the first episode they were all on, they went down the line and had all the members of the cast introduce themselves and like tell people kind of what their deal was as a comic. and he introduced himself as kind of a cross between Chevy Chase and Bill Murray. And it's like, what a bad call. Even if executives call do that behind closed doors, like, what a horrible first impression to make with people is to call that big of a shot. It reminds me of the first episode of Mad Men when, like, at the end of it, Pete Campbell is talking to Don Draper and the other partner and being like, I'm sorry, sir, I won't let you down again. And he turns and is like, God damn it, Campbell, don't ever say that. Like, why would you ever? But yeah, he's great as a 90s dad. Really liked him in this.
He is good as a 90s dad. They're making some jokes about the mom dressed as Madonna and then they dance all night. And I don't know. The parents, they're fine. Too much screen time. I don't know. I just want the witches. Even the Satan's house thing makes no goddamn sense. And it's just charming. It's just charming because the characters are fun. The witches are great. I just want more witches. I want a 30-minute cut of just the witches doing stuff. And that should just be what Hocus Pocus is. Don't even need any of the other things. Just do the witches. It's great.
The witch stuff is all great.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So good. Just so good.
Back to the virgin thing. At the end of the movie, right? I was like, oh, the cemetery is holy ground, so they can't go on the cemetery. And at the beginning of the movie, that means they can't even fly over the cemetery. And then at the end of the movie, it means they can fly over the cemetery, but they can't touch the ground of the cemetery. And then after that, it means actually we can touch the ground for like 10 seconds. And then we'll start turning into a rock, I guess. I was like, this is weird. This whole thing is weird. Two of the witches just exploded into sun, and then one of them turned into a rock and then exploded. I was very, that's the moment when I was like, when she started turning to stone, I was like, they're going to say she's not a virgin. I was like, that's for sure. Like, why is she turning to stone? Oh my God, it's because he had sex. I was like, I was 100% convinced that was the thing. But instead, I don't know. Whatever.
Can we, I think we're going to get to this eventually anyway, but
get it.
Sarah Jessica Parker in this movie was a very confusing thing to see as a child.
Yeah.
I was like, what are these feelings? And watching her again, she is so uncomfortably seductive for this children's movie.
Yeah, she is. She's sexy in this movie. She's filling the role nicely. But the way that even people talk about the witches too, they're beautiful in one breath and then they're like hideous in another breath. It's weird.
Yeah.
The way like people talk about them, I guess, even if it's just like female characters, it's just like kind of shitty and weird. But yeah, she is sexual. Did you have any other exploring of that feeling? Because I want to pick apart these other witches too.
I just wanted to see if you felt the same way. I was just wondering if you had a similar relationship with the movie when you were younger. I know I've talked in the past about like what, we've done shows and stuff where people will ask like what some of your big awakenings were. And I always remember this as well as like a couple of Britney Spears music videos.
That's funny. She was less sexual than I remember. I remember that like as a kid, I'm like, damn, she was like horned up. And then in this, I'm like, oh, it's not as horny as I thought. But also like 3 years later, she's on Sex and the City. So this is catching her at a weird time. I think it's like a very short amount of time because Sex and the City starts in the 80s. I'm pretty sure. No, that can't be right.
No way.
In the 90s? No, this is 93. When does Sex and the City start? I think Sex and the City starts in like 96 or something.
For some reason, like 96 or 97 is in my head.
98.
Oh.
So I guess it is more than a few years, but it still is like, I don't know. It doesn't seem that far. She's not that far away from Sex and the City, which is kind of crazy to me. The other, like the third witch, Mary Sanderson, she creeps me out, man. I don't know. The thing she's doing with her mouth, I just found so gross. I'm like, just like kind of like, I like talking out the side of her. I was like, this is disgusting. I don't know why she's doing this. It's so unnerving. I really hated that. I don't know what it was. It triggered something in me where I was just like, oh, why is this happening? You know?
Like, when I was watching it, I was like, is she doing an impression of Bill Murray in Caddyshack with kind of the whole like talking out of one side thing?
It was, I had a hard time watching it, to be honest. I was like, this is gross. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I have a thing about mouths now. I don't know what it was. I've never had such an uncomfortable reaction to somebody moving their mouth as I did for her. Every time she did it, I squirmed. I squirmed every time. It was gross.
I'm sorry to hear that, because that scene where she's screaming at the baby on TV is so unbelievably funny.
It is funny. That is funny. But there's a lot of moments where she just does the weird mouth thing. And that's like kind of all she's just kind of doing it in the background a lot. And that I just can't stand. Like, she's very funny. She's great. She's awesome. But every time she does the mouth thing, it gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Can we talk about the Sandersons as a unit? Because I think I think maybe this is the thing that makes them shine so much in this movie and makes the witch parts of this movie so much more fun to watch than any parts of the kids, is that these were all three of them did Broadway, right? Obviously Bette Midler, but I think Sarah Jessica Parker had at that point too. At the very least, like, I don't think this was anybody's first acting role. I think that they all have a lot of like stage acting experience. And you can tell that all three of them are in on this movie. Like, they seem like they have incredible chemistry between the three of them. They're having a blast. They're doing that thing where they link arms and they take steps together. It's such a cool, like, relationship to have between these witches. And they're so believable and as sisters because of that. They feel like classic Disney characters. They feel like the kinds of characters that you would normally see animated. And so to see them come to life in the context of like 1990s Salem, it reminds me of things like The Page Master, where you have like somebody falling into animated series just in reverse. It's a little bit like the movie Enchanted, but ahead of its time.
I love Enchanted.
Enchanted's great.
I agree. Their chemistry is phenomenal. I feel like maybe I'm projecting here for sure. I'm just guessing. I feel like they didn't really keep in touch after this movie, but had a blast when they were filming it. That's what I think it was like one of those summer camp.
I was just
like people talk about.
They're friends from camp.
Yeah, they're friends from camp. I think this happens like all the time with movies where people are like, oh my God, I hope they're really friends. And it's like they're put in an environment where they're stuck together. It's like going to summer camp where you are just, you create friends, but then they're just in this space and then you move on. So you've got best friends, your best BFFs for 3 months, and then it's gone. And unless you get renewed or you do a sequel, you don't ever get that feeling again. And I feel like that happened. I have a hard time picturing Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker like texting. Mm-hmm. But I think, the fact that they signed on for a second one too. And in the second one, it also seems like they are having a great time together. Like they enjoy, I'm buying into the fact that they enjoy each other's company. So, and they must enjoy each other a little bit if they were willing to make another movie. I'm sure there's money too, but they were willing to run back these characters with these people they obviously liked. They're great. They all have great chemistry. It's even better in the sequel. It's just great. They're awesome.
Yeah. They fucking bring it. Every single scene they're in, every line they have, they bring it all the way. And then obviously the musical number performance is like one of the big things, but just the little tiny details, just little like smirks and smiles they'll have. It's just so fun to watch all of them at all times.
Yeah, they're goofy and they're like in on it. Mm-hmm. And they're aware and they know what the movie is and they're crushing it. They're just having a great time. And every second that isn't them on screen is a wasted second that I wish I could get back. It's the drop off between them and 3 children I don't give a shit about. Like, I haven't seen a less charming little girl in a movie ever, I think. Just nothing memorable about her. Not a single moment was I like, oh, there was nothing. There was nothing for this child running around. She's just bland and boring and loves telling bullies that her brother's a virgin. It's weird. It's weird, dude. And then the opening scene is them is like, oh, the town is really into Halloween. And he like, it's a guy from California who's like, I don't really see what that big a deal is. And the teacher like admonishes him for not believing in Halloween or whatever. It's like nuts. It's so goddamn stupid right away. And I don't know. And then somehow he picks up this hottie who barely talks. And that's the movie. And then they pick up a cat that the little girl will now die for, even though they've known it for 10 minutes. And it's
a talking cat. I mean,
crazy.
You know, she
I
gets
guess
to
it's
know.
a talking cat.
A different
Would
read
you-
of this movie. I feel like she almost had like a very Ginny Weasley and Tom Riddle relationship with this talking cat, where it's like she's just going to believe anything this cat says to her.
If you met a talking cat,
Mhm.
how long would it take you to cuddle with it?
Oh my God. I don't know that I would. There's something that's very, we talk about this. We don't do like a voice for our cat. I think we're abnormal pet owners in that because we don't say like that whole stereotype, like, oh, he's probably saying, oh, why won't you feed me? Like, I don't know.
What?
I will respond to him as though he's talking to me, like Baxter and Anchorman. But it
Yes,
feels,
that's fun.
feels
That's
very
normal.
strange to imagine him saying people things. I don't think I would like it at all. I don't think I would cuddle that animal.
Do people do that? Do people just be like, I bet I was like, are you hungry? I feel like I like the baby voice, but I don't know if I've ever seen anyone be like, oh, he's probably thinking he's having like a blast right now. Oh my God, he's crazy. That's
it
insane.
happens.
Those are the
Dude.
kind of people that own like cat mom shirts or dad mom shirts, and they have actual kids, and like they're pushing a stroller with a human in it, but they're still rocking the shirt because they're like, you need to know I'm a real mom. I'm a real cat mom. I might have this baby, but I am a real dog mom.
Oh my God.
Don't judge me by the human being that I pushed out of me. Judge me by the cat that I adopted and keep in and trap it in a tiny New York apartment. Yeah, the entire apartment smells like shit all the time. I don't care. I'm a cat mom. That's what you put up with. I love my cat more than my kid. I would throw my kid in front of a car to protect my cat. These are weird people, Kevin. You should stop hanging out with them, whoever they are. I'm not going to name names, but you need to distance yourself from these people immediately.
It's everyone I know, Tim. It's everyone I know. How long would it take you to cuddle with the talking cat?
I don't feel like I would. That girl,
Same.
the
Thank
little
you.
kid immediately takes the cat into bed, and the cat, who we all know is like a young boy, is like cuddling up with this 8-year-old. Like
But he's a cat.
It's weird.
It's
What,
weird
he's
because
a
he can-
cat?
well,
What do you at the end of the movie? We see his ghost. We see a human ghost.
Right.
Also, that was another thing that I thought was crazy. Because I'm like, witches, fine. And then at the movie, there's just a ghost. I'm like, okay, there's fucking ghosts now. Whatever. Nothing matters. There are no rules in this world. Why? How the fuck is there a ghost there? Where'd the ghost come from?
I got a question for you right now.
Yes.
This kid, he was probably about Max's age. I think the main brother's name is Max.
14 tops.
14 tops, right? Same for him and his little sister. 14 tops when he gets turned into a cat. It's been 300 years, I believe, since the Sanderson sisters were in prison. So I don't think that cat is a 14-year-old boy anymore. I think that cat is a 314-year-old man cat. Like,
Right.
I no longer think this is a sweet young boy cat. This cat's seen shit. It doesn't matter if he's mostly hanging around the Sanderson home. The thing is 314 years old. When it dies...
Can I comment on this?
Yeah, please.
Also, this guy is like, he's an outdoor cat. So this cat has eaten and killed things.
Mhm.
It's hunted birds. It's eaten carcasses. And it's been doing that for 300 years. It's a healthy cat. It's killing shit. It's having sex with other cats. I guarantee it. That cat has definitely fucked other cats. There's no way that cat has not had sex. 300 years. You have a boy in the midst of puberty in a cat body, and he's not going to fuck? What are you talking about? That cat is fucked. That cat has at least 300 children. There's little cat children. And that's a bigger question is like, are his children half human, half cat?
Oh my God.
Or when the cat he hooks up with has cats, are the kittens just dumb regular cats? And then he has to grapple with like the thing that he's done where like his offspring are literal animals, and he has to carry that around with him for an extra 200 years.
He's
he definitely
getting a
dips
Cat
back
Dad
into that pot.
t-shirt.
He's getting a cat dead t-shirt. I mean, they didn't touch on any of this in the show, and I think it's a missed opportunity. You know, that guy, 14-year-old in a cat body, he's doing some weird shit. He's peeping on neighbors. He's creeping on people, you know? He's getting cuddled by grown women.
It's Thackery Binks.
That cat is up to no good. He's doing 14-year-old kid shit.
He lived 14 years as a human, then 300 years as a cat.
Yeah.
When he dies, it's a human ghost. I feel like at the 300-year mark, you're probably more used to being a cat. I think probably somewhere around the 100-year mark, you kind of settle into like, I think I'm a cat now. Like, I'm probably just a cat. I would assume, based purely on time served, that ghost should have been a cat.
That's interesting. You're right. That's the Disneyfication of this. He is probably more cat than man at this point. He's also like, I don't know. Is he talking to people regularly?
No.
Is he communicating?
No way.
So he's probably, there's no way this guy isn't insane. This character goes insane 50 years into being a cat. Just loses all sense of humanity.
This character goes insane 15 minutes into being a cat. He turned into a cat.
Oh my God. No opposable thumbs. Are you kidding me? Like right away. And he can't die. So he probably tried killing himself a lot.
Oh my God.
Like he knows he can't die. So this cat kid tried to kill himself, failed multiple times, fucked a bunch of cats, had a ton of kittens. And so now when this boy ghost goes to heaven, are any of his cat children going to be there? Probably not, because they're probably cats. So he's now going to be separated from basically the family he spent 300 years building. And yeah, this is just a real can of worms you opened, Kevin.
This is hellish. It's hellish. I'm just thinking about it because in Doctor Who, when Matt Smith's doctor regenerates, he had spent up to the doctor in that show regenerates every time they need to switch actors. They say that they, tap into this life force within them and it changes their physical appearance and the way they act, but they're still the same person with the same memories. And prior to Matt Smith regenerating, his character had allegedly spent a couple hundred years alone on this planet, or on some kind of a planet where he was showing visible signs of aging. Like he looked like 27-year-old Matt Smith for a couple seasons. And then by the time he was regenerating, they'd put old man makeup on him. And then when they show him after regenerating, his spirit or whatever, it's still young man Matt Smith. And that's one of those things where it's I feel like if he spent that much time that he's aging, he would show up as the old man, not just the actor that we recognize. Look, I get it. I don't not understand why we're doing this. I'm just saying, commit to your world. Commit to the bit.
I do, thinking about it more now, I think it makes sense that your ghost would take on the way you see yourself.
So I guess maybe that's the big question. Yeah. Do you think that most ghosts look like a person at the time they died? Or do you think if you're in heaven, Tim, what age will you be? You're
talking about two different things. You're talking about angels in heaven and ghosts. I think if you are a ghost that's haunting a building, you die the way you died. You look that way. You're an old man, you kick it in a ghost house. Which, the scary thing about ghosts is that they're dying at all. They usually have a horrible death, right? Because they come back and they haunt. So they're stuck at the moment that they died. When you go to heaven, I mean, I don't know. You probably turn into a beautiful angel of some, that's probably when you. But also, if you die when you're 17, do you go to heaven as a 21-year-old so you can drink? These are the nuances that. I mean, this cat really asks. More questions are asked with the creation of Thackery Binks than they are answered. I mean, he's not even really funny. He's just kind of there. It's just hanging out. I mean, you could make the whole movie without Thackery Binks and the zombie and it would be fine.
Yeah. Thackery really just kind of yells at them. And until I watched this movie with captions on, I really thought his name was Zachary and everyone had a lisp.
Yeah, the fact that his name is Thackery is so lame. It's so fucking stupid. Someone was like, we need to take a name and make it old timey. Someone's like, Zachary? No, Thackery. No, Wackery. There's definitely like a board that they had up on a wall where they wrote down all the different versions of Zachary. There's probably like some versions of Thyler. Like, what if we name this kid Thyler? There's a bunch of these that got thrown out. I mean, yeah, so I think we can both agree this movie sucks, and it was hard to watch.
Jesus Christ.
Kevin, did you genuinely have a good time watching it?
I really did.
This podcast?
I always do. Every single time. Watch it every year. I always do.
Every year you watch it?
It's Halloween tradition. This and The Shining are two movies that I always come back to every year.
Wow. Two masterpieces.
Yeah. Yeah, debatably two of the finest works of film of all time. Tim, as we wrap up, any other things you want to drop out there? Any other grievances you want to air?
No, I feel pretty satisfied. I feel like I got everything out there. Yeah. I don't know what else can be said about this movie. I'm ready for the hate mail. I mean, I think people legit love this movie. This was, again, the audience voted for this. They wanted to hear us talk about Hocus Pocus, and I'm afraid I let them down. But again, this is what you get. They're not all gems. This movie isn't great. It's a nostalgia thing. You can't tell me this is a good movie.
I absolutely can. You know what? And I'll do that with my late breaking thief.
I think you're a thief.
There is a joke in the movie when the witches come out of a kiln in the school that they were lured into by a tape of learning how to speak French. And
oh my God, that makes no goddamn sense either. The witches are dead and then all of a sudden they're not. Fucking dumb. So stupid. Doesn't make any sense.
Them dying doesn't make any sense. The joke makes it all worth it. The fact that the French
what was the
tape
joke?
was saying like, well, they're looking for the book. They're looking for their living book. And so the learn how to speak French tape that lures them into the kiln in the first place is teaching you, I think, how to say, like, how to get to the library and then, like, I would like my book, something like that. And then when they come out of the kiln, Bette Midler, exhausted and just having been scorched by a furnace, is saying in French, like, Je voudrais mon livre. It's just very funny.
Yes.
It's just very funny. Forgot
the
that
witches
joke.
are great. Half the movie's great. I'll say that. Half the movie's good.
Wow. Just half.
Less than half. I mean, the witches aren't even in half the movie.
Good Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, do you agree? Let us know at nerdyfor30@gmail.com. That's nerdy, the word for, and then the number 30@gmail.com. And thank you very much for listening. We're going to be back here next week talking about, next week is, She-Hulk. Talking about She-Hulk Season 1.
She-Hulk.
That'll be a blast. Really looking forward to that.
And then Rings of Power.
Rings of Power after that. Close out the month.
It's going to be great. We're starting weak and ending strong. I mean, this is going to be a great month. I'm excited for what's coming up. And, I'm ready for the hate mail. Let me know. Let me know how wrong I'm okay with being wrong about this. I get that I could be wrong, but whatever. I'm also not wrong. Not wrong at all. This movie's half bad.
God damn it. Take this man down. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.
Bye.
Bye.
Here's the thing is I think Thackery Binks was turned into a cat, but I don't necessarily think that means that he would start being attracted to cats. I don't think there's anything in my life that could make me attracted to cats.
Come on, you're a horny 14-year-old. You're in a cat body. You're not going to fuck a cat, Kevin.
What did you do when you were 14?
I was probably jerking off constantly. I mean, I don't know. If I had the option of fucking at 14, I would have tried it. I don't know. I don't know why you're acting like such a prude here. That cat definitely. It's a 14-year-old in a cat body. There's female cats everywhere. That cat fucked for sure. For sure, he fucked. Why not? Why wouldn't? It'd be a wasted opportunity to fuck. I hope Thackery Binks, after the horrible life he had to live, got his fair share of cat puss. I hope he got his jollies off. I hope he lived out his sexual fantasies as a cat. I hope he was like 69 in cats and alleys and just having a great time. He deserves that. His life was taken from him. He's trapped as a cat. He deserves to get his rocks off. I hope he was snorting catnip. I hope he was going on adventures, seeing the world. I hope he was living his best life, instead of just hanging out in a shop by a candle forever. I mean, this is a trapped human being. It's crazy. I'm wondering, like in Castaway, you know how he starts talking to the volleyball? I'm wondering what his version of the volleyball was. Like after 300 years, if you still view yourself as a human, you're like definitely having conversations with inanimate objects. Like you're definitely projecting onto other moments of humanity. Or maybe he just like befriends people in like other towns. And he just shows up and talks to old people, you know, who can't even really remember him or can't catch him. Maybe he like makes friends. he just has these conversations with people who aren't going to be able to stop him, you know, just so he can get some human contact. It'd be great.
He shows up and he talks to people that no one will ever believe.
It's a mess, dude. It's a mess. But thank you for asking those leading questions. Glad we got to the bottom of it.